Deep within the remote regions of a backwater planet, a lone dragon knight clashes with ferocious beasts of monstrous power. From the burning desert he departed from his people to prove his mastery over the very forces of nature itself. He journeyed far into the frozen peaks to tame the deadliest of blizzards, into the eye of the volcano to overthrow the Lord of Fire, into the very depths of hell itself to wrest sovereignty of death from the pit lords, and to the highest trees of the great forests, slaying the King of Heaven himself. The leaders of each Wyverian tribe gave their blessing, the knight returning to his people as their greatest warrior, a kingslayer to lead and protect his people in times of peril. As one of the most accomplished dragon knights in all the tribes, he rides over the dunes once again for the final trial of the desert people, an adversary of peerless ferocity, the tyrant of the desert. The Diablos is a veteran of first-generation Monster Hunter. It is a flying wyvern known to inhabit the various deserts throughout the lands, an apex predator in every aspect. While the Diablos is known for its dusty-colored carapace and its signature roar, they are most known for its most visually striking feature, the two massive horns sitting atop its head. Diablos use these mighty horns to burrow, smash through solid stone, and attack any threat to its territory, which of course makes them very desired by hunters and collectors alike. Many foolhardy hunters have lost their lives in an attempt to collect these horns from Diablos, as they are fiercely and unforgivingly territorial. Interestingly, in the Monster Hunter universe, Diablos have a subspecies called Black Diablos, which the Hunters Guild thought were a separate evolutionary branch. However, after more research, it was found that the carapaces of female Diablos in heat during mating season turn black, both as a signal and a warning to potential mates. This cranks up the normal Diablos' aggression up to 11 as they attack almost anything on sight. This is in stark contrast to Diablos' diet, as while the Diablos is indeed the pinnacle of desert fury and willing to challenge almost any monster that comes into its territory, they are funnily enough herbivores who have a particular penchant for patches of cacti. I don't know, I just thought that was always kind of funny. Diablos has always had a soft spot in my heart, always coasting near the top of my favorites in the whole series with a little fluctuation. So when the time came for my Exodites to have its first desert-themed HQ unit, I knew what I had to do. But who is qualified to ride atop such a beast? What man possesses such raw power to tame the fell tyrant of the dunes? Well, longtime viewers of the channel may have met him already, bumming around in my backgrounds for a lot of my build diary videos. This is my hunter, the hunter with no name, an old grizzled veteran of over 15 years of playing Monster Hunter games, and he finally gets to be center stage. He wears a mixture of two armor sets from the same monster, the Anjanath. While the Anjanath normally inhabit forested areas, they've been commonly sighted occupying the fringes of desert areas near vegetation. They're a bipedal T-Rex-like monster that sits perfectly in the middle of the food chain, known for their powerful bite and, when provoked, their ability to spit fire. According to in-game lore, various tribes claim that the Anjanath armor imbues its wearer with strength, courage, and the challenger spirit, so it's a perfect fit for a hunter of his caliber. Plus, I just fucking love the armor set. With the monster introduced and the hunter garbed, it's time for them to meet face to face. Meet the Autarch Skyrunner for the Partholonians. There's a lot to dig into here, but first off, let me say that this is without a doubt one of my most detailed sculpts I've ever done. Besides a few deficiencies like the second belt, the top knot feathers, and the array of sidearms on the backside, which would just interfere with the whole sitting on a saddle thing, I truly think this is like a very faithful recreation of the source material. The armaments here are from another desert monster I hope to focus on another time called Seregios. This flying wyvern from 4th generation is known as the Thousand Blade Wyvern, as it uses its scales as bladed projectiles, their targets succumbing to a flurry of scales or bleeding out from the serrated edges. Seregios is another one of my favorite monsters, and I love the look of its lance, although technically I should have used the gun lance to match the stat block's ranged attack because, you know, the lance like does a little shooty thing. I've been using lance since 1st generation though, so I'm not compromising here. I use a lance, my hunter's using a lance, god damn it. To solve this, I stuck a Dark Eldar equivalent of a Melta on with some blue tack so I can position it later, but I forgot the name of the gun. Hopefully I put it on screen. The lance itself was a tricky thing to make. I ended up sculpting one shell, then making 9 blue stuff molds to cast about 30 copies of that shell scale thing. Then the shell pieces were stuck to a handle of an old paintbrush. Not a toothbrush, paintbrush. It came out a little girthier than I'd hoped for, and not entirely one-to-one accurate, but I think I got it for the most part. Plus, if you look at the lance in-game, like Sunbreak, the damn thing is so big it barely fits in the screen, so I had to, downsize it a little bit. So you can tell what it is at a glance, so that's good enough for me. While I am showcasing the model today, in truth, this model is only about 90% completed. There are some things I want to add or implement, I guess, across the model that I just didn't have the time for because I've been working on this thing for so long and I want it to be done. The main problem is the feet not being in any kind of harness or stirrup or, visible foot support, even though the pose suggests he's got his foot resting on something. I tried to use the more traditional straight legs in a stirrup pose, but it just didn't work with Diabolos's shell shape, so I had to compromise and use a little more bow-legged pose. And it looks a little silly when you look at it, but if you don't look at it too much, it's not bad. I considered putting some kind of mounted foot plate onto the Diabolos's harness strap, like where the feet meets the strap, but I never decided on anything, so I just kind of left it for now. I had managed to find some weapons from a Dark Eldar Venom to use as the twin shuriken catapults, with a little finagling and custom, I thickened it up a bit. But I didn't fill out the backside with anything yet. The backside of the, harness mount. Bleh. It would probably be another barrel or crate for supplies, but again, I just didn't decide on anything. It'll be a problem for another day. I'm not really concerned about it right now. Another problem I had thought of late into the process was leader HQ ornamentation. I wanted to fancy up the Diablos to befit an HQ unit and give it a little bit more of that combination Eldar Monster Hunter flair, but like I said, I was just kind of pushing to be done with this for now. I'd been sculpting this thing on and off for the better part of almost a month. And I know I'm a slow sculptor, but I had other things pop up and things happened, and it kind of drags on you when you've got the same project sitting on your table day after day. I did consider adding a banner of some kind, how Space Marines have a little banner on their backpack, but the Diablos is known for burrowing, and the banner complicates things. Either I mount a banner to it and say the Diablos doesn't burrow with the rider, or forego the banner and say the Autarch goes underground with the Diablos when it does. It's a bit silly and impractical, but I'm leaning more towards the latter, as it makes the rider and mount feel more of a cohesive, synergized unit. Plus, you can do that in Monster Hunter Stories too when you burrow underground, so yeah. I'll get to fancying up this mount more in the future, but for now I need a break on this one. Overall though, I'm very proud of the work I've put into it. I had to work in a lot of separate layers, so there were a lot of times I sculpted a detail and just had to put each piece down since they all had green stuff curing on it, so I couldn't do anything but kill time. Either way, I think this guy looks amazing when lined up with the other Exodites, so I'm not even bummed about not being finished or some of the smaller details. It's just way too fucking cool to be upset about. Plus, I have a lot of my favorite monsters on one model, and that's the kind of shit I live for, man. This model is like a video game themed conversion at a glance, but like there's a bit of like reflection of myself and my history with this series in it. I've been playing these games since 2004, and like just like this old man here, I'll probably be hunting for the foreseeable future. Although these days I use more heavy bowgun than Lance, but Lance is all reliable. I can't give up on Lance, especially after World. The mobility is just so good. So thank you guys for watching today's showcase. Now that the Partholonians have an HQ, I'm really thinking hard about what other types of units we can add. We have 1 squad of troops, 1 HQ, 1 fast attack, and 1 heavy support, which is, well, not really any kind of detachment, but it is a start. I'm a bit predispositioned to more heavy support choices for 3 reasons. 1, the vehicles are appropriate for making themed mounts. 2, I know Eldar tanks are really cool and pretty good gameplay wise. And 3, I'd only have to do a single model, but I do have some ideas in the elites and fast attacks section I'm eager to get to one day. So it's just a matter of time for those. Next video will be a palette cleanser of sorts. Not really sure what it'll be, but don't worry, the Exodites will be back here on the channel soon. Until next time guys, thank you for watching, take it easy.